Hey everybody, I'm Anna McEwen. And now for Bob Switzer with the epic narrative.
And away we go. Thank you so much for that introduction. As always, a pleasure to hear my beautiful daughter. I love her voice. Welcome back to the epic narrative. We are in Deuteronomy. Wow, sometimes that just don't roll, baby. Chapter 23. Now, we got a lot, but we got some very specific things that are covered in these next few chapters. Well, we're going to try and punch through a couple chapters here, but the specifics of these social rules, much of this comes from experience and dialogue over the 40 years of implementing the laws that were given to them, on Mount Sinai. How do these apply to everyday life? Remember that Moses is, he's been involved in judging the people, right? The various circumstances have come up day after day after day. And so he's going to give some rules out that he's hoping will be like case law, I guess, where you'll be able to look at it and go, all right, if this is the way we're supposed to be, interact if this is the way it's supposed to be applied, if this is how we're supposed to approach this, we kind of have some idea of what's going on here. Remember that laws always move toward control. They get more specific and more exclusionary, and then punishments are metered out, from that. You can look anywhere in society, and the first few rounds of laws are usually very general. But then things get complicated because so-and-so did this, but there should be an exception to it because they didn't mean to do it or whatever, whatever the case might be. So now what do we do? So now what do we do? So now what do we do? And I think that this is kind of the approach of these chapters. Jesus, made it very clear in his teachings. And again, Jesus is the Word of God. So he says the law loses the heart of the Father. It loses the love of God. If all you have are the laws, if all you're trying to obey is the law, you're going to miss the heart of the Father. So God is more concerned with your heart and your relational connection to him than the laws. Because if you're growing a relationship with him, right, the laws are going to be followed. You're going to live a life of love and joy and hope and generosity. And the people are going to be empowered and they're going to be free and there's going to be love between, from man to man and God to man and man to God. And basically everybody's going to get along. It's going to be beautiful. But we still have these laws. So we have to interact with them appropriately. And so we get some stuff here. One of the first things I want to point out is this, verse 3 of chapter 23. No Amorite or Moabite or any of their descendants may enter the assembly of the Lord, not even in the 10th generation. So what we have here is a very specific thing about not letting two nations be a part of anything that Israelites do. It says, for they did not come to meet you with bread and water on your way when you came out of Egypt, and they hired Balaam, son of Beor, Pethora, to pronounce a curse on you. However, the Lord would not listen to Balaam, and he turned the curse into a blessing. Do not seek a treaty of friendship with them as long as you live. But then he goes on, he says, do not despise Edomite, for they are related to you. Do not despise an Egyptian, because you resided in their country as foreigners. The third generation of children born to them may enter the assembly of the Lord. So he says, listen, there's people who treated you well. Eventually, by the third generation, you can start letting them into the assembly of the Israelites. You can start making them part of the Hebrew nation. You can start making them part of the nation of God. Moabites and Midianites, no, we need a long time before they're allowed in. But they are specifically talking about the male gender, which is why Ruth was allowed to be a part of the Israelite nation. Because in just a couple generations from now, Ruth is going to, and we'll read about it because we'll get there eventually, one of these seasons, but Ruth is going to come in from Midian, or Moabite, sorry, she's going to come in from the Moabites, and it was considered okay because she was a female. We're talking about the male gender at this point. They were not going to be allowed to be part of the Hebrew nation for at least 10 generations. Basically, he's saying, I don't know if I would ever let these guys in for the way that they treated us. And this is, I think some of this is Moses' reaction. But I find it interesting that he reminds them that, listen, you were foreigners in Egypt's land for 400 years. So don't hate them. Their country was destroyed by their sin. Don't hate them. In a couple generations, if they want to join you, bring them in. That's not a problem. And a side note, when it comes to Ruth, like her coming over from Moab was still an issue for some people, even when David was king. It still bothered them that she was a Moabitess and was part of the line of King David. So again, there are those who miss the loving heart of the Father because they're so intent on the law, and the law just continues to move toward control and exclusivity rather than toward freedom and relationship. Let's see. Verses we're gonna jump. He talks about uncleanness in the camp, some miscellaneous laws regarding slaves. Verse 22. But if you refrain from making a vow, you will not be guilty. Whatever your lips utter, you must make sure to do, because you made your vow freely to the Lord your God with your own mouth. If you enter a neighbor's vineyard, you may not eat all the grapes you want, but do not put any. You may eat all the grapes you want, but don't put any in your basket. Verse 25. If you enter your neighbor's grain field, you may pick kernels with your hands, but must not put a sickle to their standing grain. Sorry. So here is just another little picture of the way that relationally these laws were supposed to interact. He's saying, refrain from making vows. Just do what you say you're going to do. Don't try to create for yourself more laws, personal laws. I vow I will forever da-da-da-da. Don't. Just make a promise. Just say, yes, I'll take care of that. I'll show up tomorrow at 9 a.m. and go to work. I mean, I know some young adults who have a real issue with showing up on time for things. And some have outrageous reasons as to why it should never be expected, and I know I'm old, so it could just be me, but in my mind, it's like you sign an agreement. Like, you didn't even say you'd be there. Like, you said you'd be part of the company. You said you'd be part of the team. You told the contractor, I will be there. Then you should be there. It's fascinating to me how many people are not even aware that their word matters. our culture is so bent toward deception and lying that they don't consider anything they say as a lie, because they'll say, well, in the moment, I meant it. The main word for that is called situational ethics. I didn't lie in the situation. It's just the situation has changed, so now it looks like I was lying, but things have changed. So my answer has changed. My behavior has changed. My attitude has changed. We need to be people of our word. This was going to be a source of light in a dark culture. The Hebrews were going to be people of their word. They were going to be traders and merchants and farmers who, when they said something, they did something. It's a really cool way to look at it, but I understand that for some it's like it's difficult because you've never put yourself into a rhythm where you're going to follow through on what you say. Like when you say something like, "Yeah, let's go out. Let's go out. Maybe Sunday. Yeah, let's go out Sunday." And then Sunday comes along and you're not there. And you're like, "Well, I changed my mind. Something else came up." Be a person of your word. And if something comes up, be relational enough to make that call and say, "Let me check with the first people I committed to, or let me check with the job that I'm supposed to go do, and let me see if it's okay if I push that off or if I move that to a different day." It still happens to me sometimes. I double book myself. I make an arrangement to do a Zoom, I forget about it, and somebody else wants to go out for appetizers or whatever, and it's like, "Yeah, let's go," and then it's like, "Oh, I have a Zoom. Oh, man. All right. So what am I going to do?" Well, I make a choice and then I communicate. And if I can move the Zoom, I move it. And I go out for appetizers. Or I just say, "You know what, guys, I double booked. I made this commitment. I gotta go do it." Be people of your word. It's interesting to me how revolutionary that is. All right. Yeah, we're on to the next chapter. More laws and punishment here. If a man marries a woman who becomes displeasing to him, he finds something indecent about her, and he writes her a certificate of divorce, gives it to her, and sends her from his house. And after she leaves his house, she becomes the wife of another man, and her second husband dislikes her and writes her a certificate of divorce, gives it to her, and sends her from his home. Or if he dies, then her first husband who divorced her is not allowed to marry her again after she has been defiled. This would be detestable in the eyes of the Lord. Do not bring sin into the land the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance. And when I read stuff like that, I think, what's the story behind that? Some guy got married. After a few years, he decides to give her a certificate of divorce, whatever the reasoning is. And again, I've never seen a divorce that, in essence, was easy. There's always a relational price to pay, and sometimes there's ridiculous amounts of physical prices to pay, but that's another whole issue. But he sends her away, and she marries a second husband who either dies or also sends her away. And the first husband's like, "Well, she wasn't that bad. I'd like to marry her again." Moses is like, "Nope, you can't do it." What? Why not? I don't know. I'm sure it made sense to them. My other relational thought is, if she what's going on with her that she's the reason the two guys got divorced? But I know it's not always the girl's fault. I know that. I know that you don't have to send me an email. I know that. I do know. But it was just one of those things, that goes through my goofy little head. Like, if everywhere you go, it turns into a horrible place to work. Maybe you look at the most consistent thing that happens at every place you work. You work there. So maybe it's you. Just throwing it out there. Okay. I'll move on. So I just always remember that Moses is writing these books. He's in probably the last few weeks of his life when he's writing this book. He's including all kinds of views and conversations he's had with the Sadducees, the judges, the elders, the Levites. People are going to be spread out all over the country. The priests are going to be traveling around, teaching them things. So it's just, I think it's just important, that he's writing these things down because he wants people to understand how to interact with the law with relationships, not just do the law, but it becomes a relational. And of course, marriage and divorce is part of that. And that's what he was dealing with there. I'm going to skip down to 10. There's some interesting things, about other stuff, but I just want to keep moving along. When you make a loan of any kind, verse 10, to your neighbor, do not go into their house to get what is offered as a pledge. Stay outside. Let the neighbor to whom you are making the loan bring the pledge out to you. Keep listening. Keep listening. Stay with me. If the neighbor is poor, do not go to sleep with their pledge in your possession. Return their cloak by sunset so that your neighbor may sleep in it. Then they will thank you, and it will be regarded as righteousness, as a righteous act in the sight of the Lord. Interesting. When you loan people something and you're going to collect debt or even pay them, 14 and 15 talk about a higher hand who is poor and needy, whether they be the first worker, is a fellow Israelite or a foreigner residing in your town. Pay them their wages each day before sunset because they are poor and are counting on it. Otherwise, they may cry out to the Lord against you, and you will be guilty of sin. So again, take care of the poor. If you hire somebody who's in desperate need of money, don't say, well, your first check is in 2 weeks. Pay them every day because they need the money. Don't play games with them because you're rich and can, or because, well, that's just not the way we do it. If they need the money, find a way to get them the money every day. How's that? How's that for a business principle? Anyways, can it work in today's business principles? Can you pay your workers every day? What kind of difference would that make in their lives? I don't know. Some would just blow it every day and then they'd be in worse shape. But anyways, that's another whole conversation. When it comes to debt being paid, or in the earlier verses, right? Collecting debt, dealing with the poor. When a debt is paid with personal belongings or things that are needed to make a livelihood, you have to return them when they're needed. Fascinating concept, I think. So you come in, a poor person's, or somebody's in need of a loan. They say, "Well, I can loan you. I'll use my truck, right? I have a truck, hauls my house. I need it to haul my house, but I used the truck, let's say, as surety or what do you do for a loan? Not leverage. Backup for the loan. I know it's the wrong word. Anyways, and the guy's like, all right, yeah, I'll loan you $10,000 so you can repair your roof. But, I'm taking the truck. Okay, here's the keys to the truck. In this scenario, according to the principle that's being written here, when I need the truck, he's to bring it back to me because I need the truck to move the house. And let's say I have to drag the house somewhere to get the new roof put on. The new roof gets put on, and now I need to drag it back. Like, he can't keep my truck and say, well, sucks for you, buddy. You gave me the truck. Until you pay me the $10,000, you don't see the truck again. That's not how loans were supposed to work in the kingdom mindset. If I need the truck, he needed to bring it back to me. And he's like, if somebody's so poor that they literally give you the clothes off their back, like they have a really nice jacket or whatever, it's all they have. They really need some food. They're like, here, take my jacket. You take the jacket, you give them what they need. He's like, bring it back to them so that they're not cold at night. You go back in the morning and pick it up during the day. Because in that you are building relationship. Do you understand the relational aspect of this law? Moses is saying, this is not about, sorry, bro, you're cold. Well, you shouldn't have been poor. You shouldn't have needed the money. Now I got your jacket. When you pay for the money, you get the jacket. That's the way this works. Not in the kingdom. You say, well, then what's the point of loans? Yeah, I think that's exactly the point. The point is, if you're going to do a loan, it's really not to your advantage. You give the loan because it's to their advantage. And then you do what's necessary to make sure that they continue to be able to live and work and earn money, even though they may have given you what they needed in order to do that. You make sure they get it back. Then another thing that evidently people would do is, you need, you're poor, you need a loan. Well, let me come in your house and get it. Let me come in the house and rummage through things. See what you got. He's like, no, do not go in their house and get what is offered. You stay outside. Do not go in and rummage through their house and say, I'll give you $50 for this. I'll loan you $100 for that. This is not a rummage sale. This is not a yard sale. He offered you one thing. That's what you take. You wait outside to get it. And when you return it outside. You don't go walking in. His house does not belong to you because you loaned him money. A lot of people who loan out money think they own the person who they're now is in debt to them. I just think it's really important as we want to build the culture of heaven in here on earth. And there's lots of preachers and teachers that talk about that. This is one of the ways that we do it. And it is, I mean, right now, these are radical concepts. Can you imagine if this happened in real life right now? You would be way out there. People would probably want you medicated. But this kind of interaction, right? It honors the household. It honors the relationship. It could actually build relationship, because if you're going to see them every single day, it builds relationship. You know as well as I do, when somebody, like, you borrow money and then you see them, right? There's this like, oh crap, I owe that guy $20. Oh man, all right. Or, oh man, that couple, oh yeah, they bought us dinner last time we were out. We really tried to pay our own. They paid for it. We owe them. What are we going to do? But here within the quote law, Moses is saying, hey, go see each other every single day. Talk to each other every single day. Get to be with each other every single day. Take that weird awkwardness out. And understand that as you get to know each other, the forgiveness of the loan could become a lot easier to do, because you're going to know each other. You're going to know how much that guy needs it. And you're going to move on to it, move on from it. And say, well, you know what? Just forget about it. Just forget about it. You're all right. Let's talk chapter 25. We're talking about more punishment. When the people have a dispute, they are to take it to court. The judges will decide the case, acquitting the innocent and condemning the guilty. If the guilty person deserves to be beaten, the judge shall make them lie down, have them flogged in his presence with the number of lashes the crime deserves. But the judge must not impose more than 40 lashes. If the guilty party is flogged more than that, your fellow Israelite will be degraded in your eyes. Do not muzzle an ox while it is treading out the grain. Oh, well, that's weird. Let's try that one. All right. Lashes for punishment. 40 was a number that came from the one for each year they were in the wilderness. Or some say it came from one for each day Moses was on the mountain. 39 lashes meant you were having mercy, because it was legend that if you got more than 40, that you wouldn't be able to survive, that you would die. The judge was to give a number based on the physical ability of a person to survive. 3 was the minimum, 40 was the maximum. And then it says in verse 3, it says, but the judge must not impose more than 40 lashes. If the guilty party is flogged more than that, your fellow Israelite will be degraded in their eyes. Why did I make note of that? When the lashes are done, the idea is when the lashes are done, that's what it is. When the lashes are done, the family is supposed to be restored. The relationship is supposed to be restored. If the judge goes more than that, then what he's saying is this person isn't worthy of relationship. And that is not up for a judge ever to decide. A judge should never go over 40 because all people are worthy of connection and relationship. Let's see. Verse 4. Oh, do not muzzle an ox while treading on the grain. Don't take away from the one who's being punished their ability to sustain their strength or lives. That's what that verse means. In the context of the lashes in judgment, he's saying, as a judge, do not give a person so many lashes that they can't do what's necessary to earn a living. Don't get like bloodlust and be like, everybody gets 40 today because I'm just in a pissy mood. Look at the person, listen to the person. If they're guilty, what did they do? Be considerate. What do they do for a living? What would flogging do for them? And how much flogging could be sustained without destroying their ability to continue to eat, to make a living? Punishment was not supposed to destroy someone's ability to make a living. Another interesting concept in the kingdom world regarding justice. Let's see. Verses 5 through 9, talking about building a family. If a brother is living together when one of them dies without a son, his widow must not marry outside the family. Her husband's brother shall take her and marry her and fulfill the duty of the brother-in-law to her. The first son she bears shall carry on the name, of the dead brother, so that his name will not be blotted out from Israel. However, if the man does not want to marry his brother's wife, she shall go to the elders of the town gate. My husband's brother refuses to carry on the brother's name in Israel. He will not fulfill his duty as a brother-in-law. Then the elders of the town shall summon him and say, if he persists in saying, I don't want to marry her, his brother's widow shall go up to him in the presence of the elders, take off one of his sandals, spit in his face, and say, this is what is done to a man who will not build up his family, his brother's family line. That man's family line shall be known as the family of the unsandaled. Just fascinating again to me. Whole new level of what it means to be a brother-in-law. You are a brother-in-law. If like I'm a brother-in-law to my sister, my wife's sister. So if her husband died in this scenario, she would come to me and say, in essence, and if she had no children, she would say, well, let's make a baby. And if I'm like, I don't want to do that. And I refused, absolutely refused. She could take me to the city gate, to the elders, and the elders would listen to me say, I'm not doing it. Not going to do it. And then the sister-in-law then could take my shoe off, slap me in the face with it, spit on me, and my family would be forever known as the family of the unsandaled. Shame, disgrace, because I refused to continue to build the family of God, the nation that God had put aside. I find that interesting. That's a whole new level of building a nation. Now, 11 through 12, honestly, I gotta know this story. If two men are fighting and the wife of one of them comes to the rescue her husband from his assailant, and she reaches out and seizes him by his private parts, you shall not cut off her hand. Show her no pity. Oh, you shall cut off her hand. Show her no pity. Do not have two different weights of your bag, a heavy one and a light one. Do not have two different offerings of measuring. Oh, sorry. All right. So we're done. That's it. Where did that story come from? Now, you weren't allowed to touch other men's private parts. So they were like, if you do, you lose your hand. That was the law. They were like, well, if your husband is in a fight with another man, then stay out of it. Stay out of it. Now, according to the sages, if you need to rescue your husband, in other words, he's getting his butt kicked, he's being pummeled by this guy, and nobody is rescuing your husband from being beaten to death, then fine. Go ahead. You can grab that guy, the assailant, by his private parts and make him stop. Now, I don't know what the story was behind that little ditty, but it's interesting that Moses was like, oh, and I better put this in there. If you're rescued by your wife because no one else would come to your rescue, it's fine. She can grab him by the private parts and stop the fight, which, as a guy, I can say would stop a fight. You don't know the mental capacity it takes to overlook such an activity is pretty strong. And most of the time, if you just grab those things, it ain't those little nuggets are just gonna put an end to it right away. I just think it's one of those things where I read it and go, what in the world was going on? Let's see. Oh, yeah. Let me read it to you again. If two men are fighting and the wife of one of them comes out to rescue her husband from his assailant, and she reaches out and seizes him by the private parts, you shall cut off her hand, show her no pity. But the implication is, if it happens because no one's coming to her husband's rescue, it was permissible. I don't know. All right, here we go. Sorry. My imagination got crazy on that. All right, verse 26. Chapter 26. Wow, we are rolling. First fruits and tithes. This is something we've covered a number of times already. He's covering it again because, again, it's just the end of his life. He's like, I really want to get this out. First fruits and tithes are all designed to celebrate God's provision. It's everything you read there is about being thankful. It's a major tenet of relational law, is to be thankful, to be connected, to hang out together, to celebrate one another, to recognize God's provision, to look around and go, wow, we have a lot of stuff. The tithe was all about taking care of people. It was not about just, paying the maintenance and salaries of the people who ran the temple. It was about taking care of people. Yes, the priests were taken care of through the tithe. In all the nation, throughout every village, there was resources for them when they were there to teach. The poor were taken care of every day, every day. The tithes of those to whom had tithes was enough that the poor were taken care of, as well as those who were working in the temple. Now, granted, there was also, the offerings. Portions of the offerings were available for them to eat. The tithe was of grains and fruits, and animals were there for them to eat. Like there was a lot to store and a lot to keep track of. But the purpose of the tithe was to take care of people, not just center everything into the building. And I've gone off on this before. You've listened to other seasons, but I know for most churches, it's at least 80% of the tithe that comes in usually goes to salaries and building costs. And that just makes me sad. I don't know what the right division is. I think I did a TikTok once and I was like, 20% should go to building and to salaries, and everything else should go toward reaching the community and impacting the neighborhood and taking care of the poor. And people were like, 20%, that's horrible. So maybe it's 50. I don't know. But to me, at some level, the church should sit down and say, we can only put so much toward salaries and buildings. And after that, we need to have a long discussion with everyone as to how much more should go toward it, if any more should go toward it. You say, well, that means the pastor's going to have to get a job. I know, trust me. And I know, and I say it to myself because I would love to be a pastor again. And yet I think I don't know. I don't know how it would work, but I think it could work. I think we've lost something when we made everything at the church tax deductible, and we moved people. I'm not saying they got into ministry only for the business aspect of it or the career aspect of it, but people move from a calling to a career, and we lose priority. It changes priority. That's a better word for it. All right. Well, I hope you had a good night, man. We went another 40 minutes. See, these things, I keep thinking I'm going to just roll through these chapters so quickly, and yet here we are, 40 minutes later. We did roll through pretty quick. You're right. We did. We covered a lot of ground, and there's a lot more there we didn't really touch on, mostly because we've already touched on it. But as you read it, you'll see it, and I hope you enjoyed our excursion into Deuteronomy today. Have a fabulous day. I'll see you next week on the Epic Narrative.
Don't go anywhere. We've got Bob Thoughts.
Well, I have some news for you, ladies and gentlemen of the Epic Narrative podcast. At the time that you are hearing this, I will have moved. What? It's true. We still looking for work, but long-term work, so we can actually settle somewhere. But until then, we've moved in with one of our amazing children who honestly, all of the kids were like, just move in with us, Mom and Dad. They're just awesome kids. Anyway, kids, they're all in their 30s. They all have spouses. They all have their own kids. It's ridiculous how amazing our kids are. But anyways, they're, yes, I will have moved. Currently, at the time of this recording, I'm in Michigan. Yep, it's true. So anyways, if you're out there, you're part of the Epic Narrative community, then you're in Michigan. I'm in the Detroit, Ann Arbor, no, not Ann Arbor, sorry. The Detroit, Auburn Hills, Pontiac area. That's as close as I'm going to let you get, because some of y'all are crazy. No, I'm only kidding. But that's as close as I'm going to let you know. But if you're in that area, you want to get together, that'd be great. I love getting together with people who listen to the Epic Narrative. And or if you're part of, some of you who listen are part of the tacos community. If you're part of the tacos community and you want to hang out, then reach out, and that'll be fun. Yeah. Is there anything else? Oh, and going to be at the Tacos Conference the end of September. Now, if you listen to this in 2026, it will be irrelevant because I'm going to be there in 2025. And if they have one in 2026, I'll probably go again. But anyways, the 2025 one is at the end of September. So probably about a month. It's hard for me to remember all the math on things, but probably about a month from the time you hear this. So if you're in the Charlotte area and you listen to the Epic Narrative, you would love the tacos community as well. Don't forget to also join the Epic Narrative community by connecting on the Facebook page. I post periodic questions for you to answer, but we are also going to start doing lives with the season 5, starting with season 5, which will begin in a few weeks. Well, a few weeks after the final episode of season 4. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. If you haven't joined the group, go to Facebook, look for the Epic Narrative podcast page, and join us. It'll be fun. All right? Have yourself a good day, everyone.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, you can subscribe to this podcast on any platform you use. You can also reach out to Bob for questions or booking at thebobswitzer.com or email him at thebobswitzer@gmail.com. See you next week, guys.